Welcome to this edition of Oskaloosa Today. I'm your host, RJ Jarvis II. On this evening's edition of Oskaloosa Today, we start out by bringing you the story of one young man who journeyed from being a small-town football star to competing for playing time at the University of Iowa in The Road to Kinnick, the Tyler Sash story. For the second part of this edition of Oskaloosa Today, we bring you a report on e-cycling, originally recorded August 1st of last year. If you live in Oskaloosa and you're into sports, then you probably know about Tyler Sash, the 19-year-old freshman playing football at the University of Iowa. But what you probably don't know is that Tyler will be the first Oskaloosa Indian to play at the University of Iowa in over a decade. The road to Kinnick Stadium for Tyler has been one paved with hard work, determination, and by his own personal desire to become a Hawkeye.
It meant a lot to me because growing up, that's all I knew was black and gold in my family. I really knew I wanted to go to Iowa when I was in about 5th grade. My brother took me to a basketball game here, and I just fell in love with it right away. And to this day, I remember it like it was yesterday. Just the atmosphere, the fans, the athletes themselves, and I just wanted to be a part of that.
Did you ever think that this wouldn't happen? Was there ever any times that set you up to think that maybe this isn't going to happen?
I actually wanted to play basketball in college. It just so happened that I got a full ride to play at Iowa for football, so obviously took it.
Tyler's mother, Barney, who has been the glue of the tight-knit Sash family, which includes Tyler's older brother Josh and sister Megan, as well as father Mike, recognized something special in her son right away.
When he was a little boy, he'd stand in our dining room, and we had a basketball hoop hooked onto our humidifier, and he would stand there like he was at the free throw line and bounce the ball a couple times, and then he'd stare at the thing and he'd shoot the ball, and we would look at him, like my husband would look at me and I'd look at him, and you could see that he had a special coordination, that he had some special kind of ability.
Tyler also remembered an early story about his own determination to play for the Hawkeyes.
One day it was a real cold day outside. I just got done with classes for the day. My mom and I are sitting there, and she's like, "Why don't we just stay in, watch a movie?" And I'm like, "Mom, I'm never gonna go to Iowa if I don't go outside right now and shoot baskets."
Aside from sheer determination and being blessed with athletic ability, Tyler has relied on faith to lift him towards his dream.
Growing up, my parents took me to church, and at a young age I accepted God into my life, and I feel that one verse, Philippians 4:13, it says, "I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me." Or it doesn't say I can do some things in Christ who strengthens me. It says I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me. Without him, I wouldn't be here today.
Today, Tyler is fighting for a starting position on defense for the University of Iowa Hawkeyes, but he couldn't have gotten there without making some sacrifices as a young man to stay focused on his goals. But would he change anything?
I don't think I would really change much of what I did. My dad was my coach, 5th and 6th grade, and just their support's always been there, and I don't think I'd really change much of anything.
What did that support mean to you?
Support means everything to me. Without them, I don't think I'd be the same place I am today.
Aside from the support his family has shown him, Tyler also learned some lessons from his high school coach, Daryl Schumacher.
Coach Shu taught me a lot about not just football, but also growing up and being a man. And football it's not a boy's game, it's a man's game, and he taught me a lot about that. And I think I matured a lot through my sophomore year when I started playing with him, and he taught me a lot of things until my senior year, and life lessons, and heard lots of stories from him, and I think he made me a stronger person and also a better football player.
Schumacher, his football coach from 10th grade until graduation, discussed what stood out to him about Tyler, aside from his athletic prowess, and some of the adversity Tyler faced.
He has great character, and he has a great work ethic. And I think his parents have done a great job with him. But Tyler is showed that through a lot of adversity, through a lot of hard work. He's always come out on top.
What were some of the adverse situations that you can think of that Tyler had to go through?
Well, you know, there's always times when a young man like Tyler, who's talented, gets a lot of verbal abuse from his opponents. And to me, I think that stands out more than anything is how he handled things. He's always willing, you know, go that extra effort to try and overcome those things, because he was not going to let those things bother him and how he played the game of football.
Tyler was able to overcome this adversity by feeding off the pressure he dealt with in high school.
A lot of athletes like that pressure, and it's just something that people have to deal with. Being under a microscope, it was just like that for me in high school. And I mean, you just have to sometimes it's hard to keep your cool, but you have to keep your cool and just go to the next play.
What do you have in mind when you think about maybe people not believing in you here or even back home and different things like that? What do you do to keep yourself focused on what you're trying to do here?
There's always people that are going to doubt you, and it's just something you got to deal with. And that's fuel to my fire when somebody doesn't believe in me. And as far as looking for strength, I look to God for that strength.
During his high school days, Tyler really made his mark, as he graduated with many of the school's records in not only football, but track and basketball as well. Perhaps his biggest accomplishment has been trailing the path for more Oskaloosa high school football players to keep their dreams of playing for the Hawkeyes alive.
If you believe it, you can achieve it. And I truly believe that, because I believe that I could compete at a Division I school. And if kids, it doesn't even have to be sports in general, whatever they want to do. Just if they think they can do it, just work hard and they can achieve their goals.
Believing in himself is what helped Tyler realize his greatest dream. He still remembers the day he got that call from University of Iowa football coach Kirk Ferentz.
I was really excited. Growing up, I always wanted to be part of the Iowa, some kind of sport, football team, basketball team. It didn't matter if it had black and gold on it. I wanted to be involved with it, and just so happened that things worked out for the best, and that's why I'm here in Iowa City right now.
Coach Ferentz discussed what convinced him to offer Tyler a scholarship.
Everything we learned about him in terms of the way he thinks and the way his mental makeup, all those types of things, everything just came back very, very positive. So we were very excited about getting a quality young man like Tyler in our program.
A former high school teammate of Tyler's, Stephen Staggs, is watching his dreams become a reality, as he will follow in Tyler's footsteps as he heads to play for the University of Iowa next fall.
I've played with him my whole life, and we've competed since about second grade together, and you think that if he can do it, why not give it a shot yourself?
Tyler reflected on the significance of what an Oskaloosa recruiting pipeline to Kinnick says about his community.
It means a lot. I mean, anytime you can get a kid 2 years in a row from the same high school to come to the University of Iowa, it means a lot to the football program and Coach Schumacher at Oskaloosa, and just also the community as a whole. I think it means a lot. Steven and I, we've been real good friends. We used to go in his backyard or my front yard and play catch. He'd put his Tim Dwight jersey on, I'd put my Tim Dwight jersey on, and we'd throw the football around imagining that we're out there playing. And Lord willing, someday we'll be out there playing together.
While that day may soon come, Tyler will have to make his mark before Staggs arrives on campus. Tyler's currently going back and forth between the first and second team defenses. He set a goal for himself last year to make an impression on his coaches in practice, since he couldn't participate in the actual games.
Proving to the coach that I could compete at this level and compete with the guys, and I got to play receiver against some of the guys like Charles Godfrey, about to be a second, third round NFL draft pick. And once I got out there and competed with him and proved to the coaches that I could compete, I think I really turned some heads.
Turning some heads during practice is one thing, but Tyler knows this year earning a starting spot will be an even bigger challenge. While scrimmaging in the Iowa Spring Game, an event where coaches really evaluate their teams and decide on playing time, Tyler sustained a head injury while trying to make a big impression. And you got hurt at the spring game and you got held back from drills after that. What was going through your mind when that happened?
I was a little disappointed, obviously. Being a competitor I always want to be out there every play if I could be, but it just happened. Things happen when you're playing a violent sport like football, and I just wish I could have been out there and competed and shown a little more of what I could do, but my time will come.
Aside from that head injury, which didn't turn out to be too serious, Tyler has had to overcome other struggles. After being a 3-time All-State selection in high school and a star in track and basketball as well, Tyler came to Iowa and had to sit out his first year for development, taking a redshirt year. Despite this, Tyler appreciated the experience.
I'm glad I redshirted actually, because I learned so much in 1 year, and I put on 18 pounds. Yeah, 18 pounds I put on. And just getting bigger, stronger, faster, learning the defense, learning the system, how things are done, just the Iowa way, how things are done.
That year of development was necessary, as Tyler had to go from being a primarily offensive player in high school to a defensive player in college.
Tom Holmberg, one of the most recent Oskaloosa Indians to go on and compete for the University of Iowa, expressed pride over seeing more Oskaloosa Indians get this opportunity.
It's about time, and yeah, they should give these kids around here a harder look, because there's some good talented football players coming out of here, and it makes me proud. Like to see that, local kids, homegrown kids going on, and want to see him get some playing time this year, and hopefully he'll do well.
When he is not competing for a spot on the team, Tyler does actually take some time to relax. It's during this time he thinks about the big goals he has for his time at the University of Iowa.
Some of my goals would obviously have to be get Iowa football back to where it's been, and win Big Ten championship, national championship, whatever it comes down to. Just get Iowa football back on the map. As far as individual goals, do whatever I can do for the team to achieve those goals.
Tyler also hopes to leave a legacy that will extend far beyond his playing days.
For people 15, 20 years down the road, I'd want them to say, that kid came out every day, no matter what it was, he'd do it, he'd get it done, and he'd work hard. And he was a good role model for kids. Kids looked up to him, and he was a leader.
As the cycle of Oskaloosa Indians going on to compete for the University of Iowa is just getting a new start, e-cycling is something that has been around our community for several years now. On this special report about e-cycling, we'll show you why it's so important for our community. And I'm here on location in Walford, Iowa, at Midwest Computer Brokers and Electronic Recovery Center. I'm here to discuss with you a problem of growing concern in the Oskaloosa community, as well as every other community across the country. And that problem is e-waste and what to do with it. Now, you might recognize some of these items that you see here, but you probably don't know what to do with them when they've passed their life expectancy or something new has come into style. Well, hopefully after seeing this, you'll get a better idea of what you need to do to take care of this problem. So, what is e-waste? Well, e-waste is defined as any unused, unwanted, or broken electronic appliance. The best thing about these appliances is that they can be recycled for their valuable parts and materials. The problem is that when not disposed of properly, like when they are thrown in landfills, they are very hazardous. When I spoke to David Flora at the Environmental Protection Agency, he said that there is the potential for hazardous waste to enter the environment from a landfill. He said that hazardous material could leak out into groundwater and harm the environment. He went on to say that if the contaminants of the landfill were incinerated, that this could also cause a problem. So, across the country, new businesses, known as electronic recovery centers and state-run recycling centers, have sprung up to dispose of an estimated 100 million e-waste products annually.
That's where e-cycling comes in.
E-cycling is the recycling of electronics. Anyone can do it. Dave Long, the owner of Midwest Electronic Recovery, talked about how to make the public more aware of e-cycling.
I think there needs to be more public information put out there. That would be what the government would be real good at, public service announcements, things of that nature, I think would really help. Another obstacle is the fees that we have to charge. We get some people that absolutely understand why we must charge. There are a lot of costs involved in recycling, if you're doing it right, that is. But there are a lot of people out there that just will not pay one dime to get something recycled.
I also spoke to Teresa Steiner at the Iowa Department of Natural Resources about e-waste. She doesn't believe the need to e-cycle is just an awareness issue.
It's definitely a cost issue. People want to do the right thing, but it's hard to see the value of paying $10 or $15 to recycle your computer, and oftentimes even more than that, particularly for a television set. It can be at $25 or more even. And it's hard to convince people to pay that when it's of no value to them anymore.
So why would you pay anything at all to get rid of used electronics? That's because it costs electronic recovery centers a lot to deal with e-waste. And that's why they charge you 25 cents a pound to get rid of it. E-cycling correctly involves taking apart the equipment, separating the hazardous parts from usable or valuable parts, and then shipping the glass to smelters who get rid of the lead and distributing plastic to processors who recycle the plastic. So why won't the federal or state government or even computer and television manufacturers pay for e-cycling? It turns out legislation has been drafted that would require electronics manufacturers and retailers to share the cost now being borne by consumers. Dave Long talked about his company, which was started in 1999, and how the cost of e-cycling is determined.
If we were taking shortcuts, which we don't, we may be able to do no fee. But by actually demanufacturing the CRT televisions, CRT stands for cathode ray tube.
And those are the computer monitors?
Yes, or televisions, not the plasma or the LCD, but the actual old console televisions, those types of things. And the cost involved for us to get that lead processed out of there into a base component again really has a lot of cost to it.
So with all the costs involved, I wondered, what are people who take shortcuts doing, and how does this affect us? You can see in this short film, produced by environmental activists, some of the dangers of e-waste and improper e-cycling practices. Unscrupulous collectors who send e-waste overseas are doing serious environmental harm. The burning of these materials puts harmful chemicals into the atmosphere, and dangerous contaminants can enter the water supply. Upwards of 70% of used computers and old television sets sent overseas to developing countries just end up being trashed and left to fill scrap heaps in countries that are having more of a problem dealing with the waste than our own. What's more is that this environmental damage isn't just a one-way street. Recent reports by Dr. Jeffrey Weidenhammer of Ashland University in Ohio have shown that leaded e-waste is a possible source of lead-contaminated jewelry coming to us from countries where high levels of e-waste are being dumped. And that matters because other studies suggest that too much exposure to lead can make people sick and even violent. Weidenhammer went on to say, no level of lead is safe for a child. With these disposal concerns in mind, you can see why there is the need for stringent guidelines to determine who is authorized to deal with this e-waste.
Oskaloosa resident Jake Barnes, who wants to start his own e-cycling business, expressed his frustration with the Department of Natural Resources, or DNR, and his plans for an e-cycling business.
There does seem to be a lot of red tape involved when you're working with the DNR and different regulatory agencies. Since there are some rules in place about CRT collections and things like that, I do need to get a permit to legally accept CRT monitors. So I'm working on that.
Teresa Steiner explained the state and federal e-waste regulations.
They are considered a hazardous waste if they're disposed of. They do contain lead and other heavy metals, so it's a matter of making sure that they're handled properly. And we work with people to get those permits. The collection permit is really very simple. It's just who you are and what you're going to be doing with them, and a report each year of the pounds you've collected. For the processors, there's a little more to it, just some best management practices that assures us that they're handling them correctly.
I have big aspirations for how big I want the business to get. I hope to serve Iowa, and you know, I always think way down the road, but right now, without even trying, I've collected 10 tons of equipment, and I've processed about 5 tons of that. Just me. I've got, you know, still another 8 tons sitting in my garage. So if I can divert 10 tons by myself without really trying too hard, just telling people, just making them aware, you know, and then getting on board with some projects like MCG did, local pickups and cleanups, and I think we can really make a big difference.
Here in Oskaloosa and neighboring communities, local businesses are taking the initiative to get involved in e-cycling. This April, MCG hosted an e-cycling event where over 14,000 pounds of electronic equipment was collected to be processed at Midwest Electronic Recovery. Sam Van Manen discussed the event.
We found out that Pellicorp and Vermeer had a e-cycling event for the last 3 years, and we looked at their numbers. We found out what they were doing. They gave us a lot of history that gave us an idea that we should be doing it here, and that it was something that Oskaloosa should embrace. We found out about their program kind of late in the spring, and we didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare prior to Earth Day, and that was on a Saturday. But we did market very well throughout the community. We did emails, we had posters, we did our community channel, we made people aware of it, and then we had radio ads as well in the newspaper, and we had a very good turnout. We had 164 families.
Rhonda Prey and Don Argo of Pellicorp talked about what caused them to start the e-cycling event.
We were donating our old computers that were no longer used here at Pellicorp to schools and churches, but the liabilities became a little bit too much to continue that. There was too much legislation passed, and we could potentially lose a lot of money donating.
Now, how could we lose the money?
Every time a piece of equipment is retired or donated to someone, if they decide to retire that machine and it ends up in a landfill, if that serial number is traced back to us, we can be fined for each piece of equipment that's not supposed to be in the landfill. So we decided that we needed to look at other alternatives. And I had a member of the environmental team come to me, Don Argo. He works with recycling a lot of other products at Pella Corporation.
We started the e-cycling event 3 years ago. We started planning about 5 years ago. And through our e-cycling, electronic recycling that we do here at the Pella site and our off-sites, we decided that we see so many electronics sit on the curbside every spring when it comes to cleanup days that we need to do something to help recycle in the community like we do here at Pellicorp.
Sam Van Manen of MCG also discussed plans for MCG's future e-cycling events.
We're planning for 2008 already, and this year we are planning to, it could be a joint a partnership with Pellicorp and Vermeer, and we're going to start planning. The meetings will start in January.
How do you think people in Oskaloosa can get involved with this more so than just these yearly events?
Well, they'll get more involved if they get more educated, and that's our job as well. You know, we want to make sure that they know why they need to do it, why they should do it, why it's important for the community, and how they can, you know, feel a part of something good if they take advantage of it.
That's all for this edition of Oskaloosa Today, and I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be right back here next Wednesday night at 8 p.m., so make sure to tune in and find out about you. I'm R.J. Jarvis II, and from everyone here at the Communication Research Institute of William Penn University, thank you for watching. Good night.